Hi, this is Joe Mako, and I've got Matt Lutton with me, and we're going to take a look at another question on the forum today. So this question starts off with a bunch of terminology of them trying to explain what they're looking for, and then they get into the main of their question, which is they want to calculate this 28.2 divided by 25.1. Now, when we first look at this, I don't see a 25.1. I can see the 28.2, but apparently it is slightly off the screen. If we scroll over, there's the 25.1. The other way that we can see it is by downloading the workbook that they provided, and there's the 28.24 and the 25.1. So with that being our goal in mind, is we want to divide these two numbers. We want to first figure out where did these two numbers come from. So we see that they've got a pill down here with a quick table calculation configured on it. And if we look at it, it's a simple percent of total going table down. So what they've said is they want to take the sum of a combination of a weekday and category, because those are our two-dimension pills, and then going table down for the denominator, they want to divide it by the total sum of that workday. So far we've got two granularities right there to get this single percent of total. If we go into this customize, we can see the two granularities of the sum of sales. This sum of sales is going to be at the combination of our two dimensions, the weekday and product category. And then this total sum of sales is going to be at a different granularity, because that's what the total table calculation does for us, is it enables us to get some aggregation at a less granular level. And in this case, the total sum of sales that we're looking for as our denominator is for that entire workday, or that entire weekday. So the next is this grand total, 25.14. So grand totals are a little bit different. With grand totals, the way that I like to think about them is that they are dropping dimension pills. So even though it's the same calculated field, this grand total area, each one of these three different grand total areas have a different granularity, or they have a different access to dimension pills. That these three cells here only have access to the category dimension cell, whereas these 7 cells down here only have access to the weekday dimension. And then finally this one down here in the corner has access to none of these dimension pills. Now, to be aware that the grand totals will also be impacted by dimension pills on the marks cards, but in this case, a way to think about the grand total is that they are ignoring, or it's like a separate worksheet without whatever dimension pill enables that to be made. So this number is made up of two other sums of sales at different granularities. That for this one, the numerator is the sum of sales for an individual category. And then this denominator for it is the overall sum of sales, the sum of sales across all categories and all weekdays. So for our first step, let's try to get these 4 numbers out here. So we'll duplicate this sheet actually, that'll probably be better. Remove out this, and let's start building these 4 numbers. So the first one is pretty easy, that's the sum of sales, that's our easy one. And then for the next ones, they're all going to be the same formula, but we're going to call it differently. We'll call this one sum of sales for a category, and it'll be a total sum of sales. And then we can just go ahead and duplicate this, because it's going to be the same formula for each one of the other granularities. So I duplicate this a couple of times, and so there we go. We've got our 3 there. We'll rename this one sum of sales for weekday, and it's get the OK button again. There we go. And then this one we'll rename to sum of sales overall. So this pill is going to be at the granularity of the combination of these two. And the next one here for category, this one is going to be at the granularity of category. So if we want to get the sum of sales for the category, this is like that horizontal grand total, we want to partition by category and address by our weekday, which is order date. So when we select this, we will get that same number all the way across here for each one of these. So now we have that consistent sum of sales for the category. Another way to think about this is if I duplicated this sheet, removed out this, and removed out our weekday, there's that same number. This is the sum of sales for category. And to get there with the table calculation, we do a total sum of sales and compute using along the other dimension, and that gives us the total sum of sales for each individual category. All right?
Right.
Next, the number that we want is this number down here at the bottom, this weekday sum of sales, which is this one right here. And to get that, we do something very similar. We now say, I want to compute using category. And now we have that number repeated for all the cells going down. So for each weekday, we have that different number. If we were to look at it differently in this worksheet, it would be like having weekday. Where do we get weekday up there?
Under
order date. I think
Best
that's under
Ellen, I think.
There we go. Order date for the weekday. So that's where that number is coming from. Okay. And now the final one is we want to get the overall sum of sales. And to get that, we want to have no partitioning because we want all of these marks to be inside of the same bucket. So to do that, we need an advanced, bring over both our dimensions, and now we have our overall sum. Okay. So with this now, each individual cell has those 4 different sums at different granularities. That we have the sum of sales for this individual combination of weekday and category. We have the sum of sales for category, that's like going across. And then we have the sum of sales for weekday, that's like table down. And then we have the sum of sales overall, and that's table across and down overall.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah.
So
and
with
that value there, Joe, comes from the very bottom rightmost grand total value, or if you just put sum of sales out.
If I just removed this, that's how we get that number. So
Exactly.
with no granularity, just overall. And so what we'll see is this number of 30 million is repeated in all cells versus this number of 7.6 is just inside of this row for this particular category, and this value of 4.3 is just in this particular column for Sunday.
Yep.
But this 30 million is for overall, and this 1.2 is just that individual cell. So now that we have these different granularities, we can put it all together. So create a calculated field here. Let's see, create calculated field. Now we'll call this our ratio of ratios. And what we're going to have here is 2 things. So I have my top and my bottom. And for the top one, we want the sum of sales. Where's sales at? And we want to divide that by the sum of sales for that weekday, I believe. Did I look at this correctly? If we go back to this. Yeah, I think that's correct. Because that's going to be this going down. And then we want to take the overall for that row. So that's going to be the sum of sales for the category divided by the sum of sales overall. So we click OK, and we'll turn that into a percentage. Default properties, number format, percentage. And we'll leave it like that. And when we pull that out, we get the numbers that we're looking for, the 112 and whatnot.
Yep.
And so if we were to look at this right now and edit the table calculation, we've got this drop down here to pick each of our calculated fields. So we can see this compute using for sum of sales at the weekday is compute using category. The sum of sales for category is compute using order date. And the sum of sales overall is an advanced that's using both product category and weekday. So
that's very nice. I didn't realize that it would inherit all those compute usings when you build it that way. That makes a lot more sense.
The reason that it inherited it is because I had all of these pills out here. So all of the table calcs that are being referenced, no matter how deep, were already out there. Versus if I had just a worksheet that had weekday of order date, and I think it's this one. Nope, this one.
The other one, yeah.
And just brought my ratio out like this, it's not going to be the correct number because it doesn't have any of the compute usings pre-configured here.
Right. Yeah.
So we'd have to go in and set each one of them manually.
So in the thread when you sent me your help, that's how I did it. I built my final calculation and then went into a new worksheet and built it the hard way. So this was good for me to see.
Mm-hmm. So there we go. There's the final numbers again.
Right.
And I hope that helps.
I think it's very helpful.
Questions? Welcome to reach out. Anything else you'd like to add, Matt?
No, but that's helped me understand the problem a lot more clearly, and just watching the steps he used to build them out, I think will help me in the future. So, thank you again.
Thank you. My pleasure. All right. Have a good day.